I read a story about a little boy that was supposed to quote a Bible verse in front of the church, and he was assigned a certain verse, and he was doing fine, knew the verse, until he stood up and saw all the people. And he got real nervous, and he just went blank. And he was standing there stuttering, and his mom, she was sitting there on the front row, and she began to mouth the words to him. And he couldn't understand her. And so then she got a little bit louder. She whispered, I am the light of the world. And he grinned real big, all suddenly and excited. He said, my mom is the light of the world. And that's the way we ought to feel about our moms. And sometimes we feel that way when we're young, and then when we're older, but we miss it in those middle years. But our moms really are the light of the world. If they are living for the Lord, they light our path and teach us so much. And so today the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 31, it says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Now, I know that when you see that verse, some of you ladies that's been in church for many years, you're thinking, oh no, Proverbs 31. And you see, there's something in our nature that causes us to compare ourselves to not only to one another, but for ladies. When they read this passage of Scripture, if they're familiar with it, they are very nervous because they feel as if they could never measure up to the Proverbs 31 woman. And I must admit, it's quite a challenge to do that. And my desire today is not to leave you feeling hopeless, but to inspire you that you can be the woman that Proverbs 31 speaks of. And in fact, all of us can be the Christian that Proverbs 31 speaks of. Adrian Rogers said this. He said, it's better to reach for an ideal and miss it than to aim for mediocrity and hit it squarely. And so if we never aim for the excellence, we never reach it. And so the passage says, verse 10 says, who can find? It reminds us that a woman like the one that's talked about in Proverbs 31 is not easy to find. She is hard and rare to find. But I want you to know today, if somehow you feel like you could never be that woman, I want you to know that through applying the principles that we're going to talk about today, and with God's help, you can develop into that person. And not only can you develop into that person, but you can develop your children into that type of person. And so he says that this woman is difficult to find. Now the word virtuous that's used there, it's not a word that we use too much in our modern English, but it's an adjective, and it describes excellence. It refers to excellence in purity, excellence in goodness, excellence in righteousness. It describes someone of high ideals and is exemplary, someone that has a principled life. And so you could say, and some of the modern translations use the word, an excellent woman is hard to find. And so it is difficult. It's hard work to be. I won't shortcut it. It's hard work to be an excellent Christian. And it's certainly hard to be an excellent wife and mother. Would you say amen, ladies? But I want you to know that by God's grace, God's goodness, Tammy is an excellent wife and mother. She is. And she's a wonderful example. And I believe that anyone can become what God had to be. And I've watched her over the years work at being that. All men should think their wives are the best. That's right. The Bible says that a prudent wife is from the Lord. And so I just want to give you some thoughts today about this Proverbs 31 woman, this person who lives an excellent life. The first thing I want you to see is that an excellent woman is priceless. It says there that she is worth far above rubies. In the ancient days, rubies were extremely valuable, and they would be compared to today to diamonds and fine gold. And so he says it's very rare to get the best. And so we should think that ours is the best. And that we should treat them as if they're the best. Amen, ladies? Amen. But not only is she rare, but she's also priceless because of her influence is immeasurable. Napoleon says this: "Let France have great mothers, and France will have great sons." Well, that's a great statement. Theodore Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, said the mother is the one supreme asset of the national life. She's more important by far than the successful statesman, the businessman, the artist, or the scientist. And you don't have to be a biological mom. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln, one of our finest presidents, had a stepmother? Listen to what he said about her. "All that I am and hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." So it's not necessarily biology that makes you a great mom. And it makes an immeasurable difference on others. And one quip said, an ounce of a mother is worth a pound of a preacher. Y'all would have me over the dinner table today. You know what, husband or dad, it really does not mean as much what I say. It's the difference Mom puts into practice that really flavors the home. I like that. Tommy was praying. I know his mind was on his mom. My mind was on my mom. My mom was a small lady. She had 4 big boys. But she made an immeasurable difference in our lives. And so let me give you some characteristics of this pricelessness. What makes her priceless? And I'm going to try to be quick going through these. I've got a lot of scripture, but we're just going to read those. First of all, an excellent woman is faithful. She is faithful. Verse 11 and 12 says this: "The heart of her husband trusts in her." I like the King James. "Doth safely trust in her. And he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life." And what that means is she is what she appears to be. There's no pretense in this one. What she is in public, she is at home. She's a wife and a mother that her children and her husband think that she is. She doesn't spend her time wishing for another husband or for another life. She thanks God for the husband and the life that she has. She focuses on the positive traits of her husband and her children and uses those to encourage them to become more like Christ. She prays for what's lacking in our life. I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that I know that Tammy prays for what's lacking in my life. Because if anybody knows, she knows. Back in the days, and some of you young ones won't remember this, but back in the day, there used to be 45 records. Remember, it was a single. It'd be on one side, you get the song you want, and on the other side, you just got what you got. Well, some women look at their husband that way. They get what they want, and then they get what they get on the other side. Verse 11 says that he will have no lack of gain. I like the New Living Translation where it says, she will greatly enrich his life. So you ladies, you are to be bragged on. You are to be adored and treated as a fine treasure. And the men should say, Amen. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. Her devotion and her love, it doesn't run out as time passes. In fact, it increases. Tammy and I have been married for 33 and a half years. We were dated for about almost 2 years prior to that. And I want you to know we're still on our honeymoon, aren't we, honey?
We are.
We still love that. It doesn't run out. It increases. So she is faithful. Secondly, this excellent wife, she is hardworking. Now, some of you women can attest to that. This verses 13 through 19, I'm just going to read those quickly, were written about around 300 years before Christ. And the type of activities that are described here show us a hard-working woman. Let's read verses 13 through 19. It says she seeks wool and flax. She works with willing hands. She's like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it's yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens or servant girls. She considers the field and buys it with the fruit of her hands. She plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night, so she rises while it's night, but she works late at night. She puts her hands to the distaff and her hands hold the spindle. That's the work of weaving. In short, a mother's work is never done. And she makes the most of her time and her money. Unlike one marriage I heard about, said theirs was the perfect marriage, except for just one flaw. He was fast on the deposit, but she was quicker on the draw. hardworking, knows how to stretch a dollar. Because she has to. She doesn't get very many. And Tammy, bless her heart, she's stretched a lot over the years. And it doesn't matter how busy she is or how tired she is. The woman is an excellent woman. They're like the ever-ready bunny. They just keep going and going and going. I'll be the first to confess that I sit down at night long before she does. She's still working. So she's hard working. The excellent wife is diligent, where she has a focus on finishing and doing the things that's necessary. Verses 21 through 24 gives us these verses. She's not afraid of snow for her household, for all of her household are clothed in scarlet. Verse 24 says she makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. And then verse 27 says she looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. She's diligent to prepare for harder times. You make sure that the kids have shoes and clothes and that the husband has things for the winter. I don't know about you guys. I can only speak for my life. But Tammy is the first to make sure that the kids and myself have. And then she gets the leftovers. That's just the way she's always been. And I think that's the way this woman is. She cares about those in her house. And so because of that, men, the wives, and the mothers in our lives, they're to be appreciated. And we should never be demanding or demeaning to them. They should be honored. It shouldn't just be one day that we honor them, but they should be, and it's good that we do it today, but they should be honored and appreciated daily. One working mom came to the kitchen early one morning. She was very weary from a late night before working and taking care of the family after working the day's work. And she came to the kitchen. She's trying to get everybody ready for the day. And her husband said to her, "I want a hot breakfast this morning." She handed him a match, and she said, "Matt, set your cornflakes on fire." That's what we are to get when we get demanding. Oh me. I can't say amen, I have to say, oh me. Let's move on. Not only is she I thought that was funny. She's compassionate and generous. Verse 20 tells us not only does she take good care of her family, but she sees the needs of those around her. She opens her hands to the poor, and she reaches out her hands to the needy. It's amazing what women do. I am totally amazed at the work ethic of mothers and wives. If you're an excellent wife, it's amazing. And she also keeps herself presentable. How did they do so much with so little? Really? When you think about it, they clothe the husband, they clothe the kids, they see to everything else, and yet they always look like $1 million. At least I think my wife does. Verse 22 says that her clothing is fine linen and purple. An excellent woman keeps herself looking nice, and men, We ought to do the same. We should do the same. And we're all guilty, most of us. I know this preacher is. There was a boy who was complaining about his girlfriend. Said he thought she wore too much makeup until he saw her some without. He saw her without it. Yeah. They need these things. It makes them wonderful times. And if we're a wise man, we'll work to see that they get those. Because I want you to know more will come back to you than you could ever give away. We don't want to be like the old guy whose wife was complaining about him one day to one of her friends, and she said, "Well, remember that you took him for better or worse." And she said, "Yes, but he's even worse than I took him for." See, I purposely put a lot of humor in this because this passage is such a hard passage to relate. And I believe God's will is for you to be challenged to rise up to meet Him. And we, as husbands and men, should be challenged together. Well, one final thing about her pricelessness is she is wise with her words. Verse 26 says she opens her mouth with wisdom and kindness is on her tongue. She chooses her words carefully. She doesn't gossip or go around saying things that would be best left unsaid. She's committed to not nagging her husband or her children and saying hurtful things to them. And men, we should not be rude or hurtful to them. Well, an excellent woman is priceless. Let me quickly move. An excellent woman has a reward. You see in verses 25 and 28 and 31, it says, "Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time of coming." Strength and dignity, that's the word, it's honor. So she has honor about her. Verse 28 says, "Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her." Verse 31 says, "Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates." She has an excellent reward. She is respected and praised. She does not have to promote herself. Her life and character speak for itself. But her children and her husband should praise her. I want to ask you something, guys. How long has it been since you said something really nice to your wife? I want to ask you children, how long has it been since you said something really nice to your mom? As adults, your mom still here. How long has it been since you said something really nice to your mom? Now, Camille, she'll be after me because I've mentioned her several times. I'm going to do it one more time. But there's no way to describe the tremendous blessing that Tammy has been to me and to our children. I can't put into words what she means to me. She's not only the love of my life, She's my best friend. She's a spiritual helper. She's a wonderful advisor. And God has endowed her not only with a sweet and unselfish spirit, but also with wisdom and insight. And so an excellent woman has a reward. Now let me give you the final thought today. The key to an excellent life is a reverent and growing relationship with the Lord. Because verse 30 says, favor is deceitful. It'll fool you. And beauty is vain. In other words, vain is useless, of no enduring quality. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Outer beauty is great, and it's a nice bonus. Amen, husbands. It's a nice bonus. But it's not as nearly as important as the inner beauty. And so the key to excellence is a reverent and growing relationship, which is just an expanded way of saying fear of the Lord. Verse 30 says, favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. The greatest way you can honor your mother today is by committing your life, or in some cases recommitting your life, to the God who has created mothers and has given them this high place of honor. If you're a mom here today, or a single lady, or a child, the greatest thing you can do today is to commit yourself to the challenge of being an excellent person, an excellent wife. I mean, I'll have to. An excellent mother. You can't be an excellent mother without being an excellent wife if you're married. You know, today's the way the world is today, not everybody that has children is married. But no matter what your experience is, there is still an opportunity for you. How can you do it? How can you live up to that standard? Husbands, how can we live up to that standard? It's by having a relationship that is growing and in knowledge of the fear of reverence